Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this image. Now this is mostly done in Photoshop, but to start with you will need a seed of an image to get you going. So I'm going to show you how I produced that. Okay, so what I'm going to do to start with is backlight this flower using this softbox, which is attached to a Profoto D2 studio flash. This is a 2 foot by 2 foot softbox, and because I want a black background to the picture, what I'm going to do is mask off part of this with a piece of card, leaving an edge all the way around, which will have the effect of rim lighting the flower. So if I just take a test image just to show you what it looks like at the moment. There we go. And we can see from that there's not a lot of detail in here. It probably needs a bit more energy actually. So what I will do is just add a couple of stops to the flashlight and we'll give it another go. Well, that's starting to get there. But obviously with all this white space we're also getting quite a lot of flare. So I think it's time to put the background in. This is literally just a simple piece of card on a stand, which I'm going to get very close to the softbox like so. I'll just line that up in the viewfinder. Just needs to move ever so slightly this way. That. There we go. Just give that another test. Okay, so that's starting to give me the effect that I want. Need to add a bit more energy. So maybe another couple of stops, like so. There we are, that's starting to work. Okay. One of the disadvantages of using this method is that you will end up with quite a lot of flare from the edges here going straight into the lens. So to get rid of that, I use a thing called a window mask, which is basically just a piece of card with a hole cut in it. So the idea of this is that it will mask off the rest of the light from the lens, so that you end up with a nice contrasty image. So we just need to arrange that on a stand. Another stand here. Pop that in there somewhere. The other advantage of this, of course, is that with this card being white on this side, it will also recycle some of the light onto the front of the flower. So I just pop that on there. Oops, like that. And have a go at lining that up. Like that. That just wants to go up a bit higher, if it will. There we go. Let's move that over a bit. It's a bit fiddly, but it is worth it. There we go. So I'll give that a test. There we are. Now that's improved the image quite a lot. If I just go back to the previous one, you can see that we've degraded the black of the background, and with this mask in place, we've brought all that back to almost black again. So that gives a very nice rim lit effect, which is just what I wanted. So this image that we've just captured will form the seed which I'm going to then transfer to Photoshop and do a bit more work on. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So here we are in Photoshop, and I've imported the image, which you can see on the screen here. So the first thing I'm going to do with this is just crop out just the bit that I want. So I'll just click on the crop panel, move these in. There. Okay. Next thing I want to do is just make sure that the background here is actually black. So in order to do that, I will just go to Info and just move the cursor across, and you can see from that most of the time the RGB values are somewhere between 15 and 16. So it's not actually black. So to correct that, I will just go to Image Adjustments and Levels and just drag this slider slightly up, just so that we make sure that the background has now gone to black, which it has. While I'm here, I will also just drag this slightly the other way, just to highlight the color. I'll click on OK, and that's done. So that's the beginnings of our image. Now, because we're going to manipulate this, we don't actually need it to be as detailed as it is. So I'm going to just go to image size here and just take that down from 3000 pixels wide to 1000. It's an arbitrary number, it's just cutting it down. As you can see, it was 50 meg, it will now be 5. There we go. Which is still detailed enough for what we are going to do with it next. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is access one of Photoshop's features called Actions. And that you can get to by going to Window and come down to Actions, which will open up the Actions palette. Now you want to add your own, so under My Actions, click on the Create New Action icon and just give it a name. So we'll call this one Step and Repeat. Step and Repeat. Now what this will do is basically record all of the instructions that I give Photoshop from now until I hit the stop button here. So for instance, if I go onto the background layer here and right click that and just click on Duplicate Layer, click OK, that has added Create Duplicate Layer to that action. So if I stop that now, every time I click on the playback button, it will duplicate that layer. And so on. So that sort of shows you how it works. But this is pretty boring, it's not really doing very much apart from duplicating the layer. So if I just get rid of all those, I'll drag those down to the bin, and I'll get rid of that as well. So from this point, I can hit the record button, and now it's waiting for me to give it an instruction. So if I go back to the background over here, and I ask for a duplicate layer, that will now make a duplicate layer, but this time I will also do a transform on that. So if I come down to free transform. Now what I actually want to do here is rotate the image slightly and change its scale. But I don't want to rotate it about the center, which is where it would normally rotate. So if you normally rotate these things, they move about the center, like so. What I actually want to do, if I just reset that to 0, is rotate it about the bottom of the stem down here. So if you have this little box ticked, that toggles the reference point, as it's called, which is this thing in the middle. So you get the reference point up, and then you can drag that down to the bottom of the stem, like so. Now when I rotate this, it'll rotate about that point. Now I actually want to rotate it a definite amount. So instead of just dragging it arbitrarily, I'll type in into here 20 degrees. So that will rotate it 20 degrees about that point. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is just alter the scale. Now again, you could alter the scale arbitrarily, but what I would like to do is alter it by a definite amount. So I'll just change the 100% to 80. There we go. And we'll click on OK. So that has scaled it and rotated it. And that's all I want to do with the action, so I'll press the stop at that point. And now I can play back that action. And every time that I click the playback, it will make me another background copy with those changes that I've previously made. Now you may notice that this has actually now disappeared off the end of the picture. I'll put a few more on so it just starts to come back. There, you can just see it at the bottom here. Okay, so with that done, what we need to do now is be able to get at all the rest of the images that have disappeared off the bottom of this canvas. So if you go to the image and go to canvas size and now change the height with the canvas extension color set to black, change the height here all the way down like so, and make that maybe 2000. Let's have a little look. Yep, that's okay. It's maybe a bit big, but gives you the idea. I just reduce that. There we go. A bit bigger so we can see it. Let's see what we're doing. Right. So what I will do now is, just so that you can see all of these images, I'll hold the Shift key down and click the bottom one, which will then select all of those and change the blending mode from normal to lighten. There we go. Like so. And now you can see that we've actually done a step and repeat. So every time this has stepped, it has gone down and made this rather pleasant shape. So with that complete, I will then, with all these selected still, just left click and flatten the image. just hold down the Alt key whilst changing that. There we go. Just crop this out a little. Like so. Click on OK. So, there you go. That's just one example of what you can do with actions in Photoshop. Now, you should be able to realize that this has all sorts of potential. I've just done a very simple step and repeat just to show you the principle behind it. But you can do virtually anything you want. So the possibilities are truly endless. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that little demonstration, and if you like seeing these sort of things, just click on the images as they appear, and that will take you to some of the videos, or don't forget to subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much.